Hello, welcome everyone to this evening's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey.
Hello, everybody. Nice to have you all back.
Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. We broadcast every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific time on CIBL, which is on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley from the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation.
Yay!
We also live stream the show on the Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group and on my YouTube channel. And actually, if you follow me in either of those ways, you will get to see the show 1 week before it's broadcast, because we pre-record in that way. And then the following week, it goes out on the radio show and it gets published as a podcast on all the major podcasting platforms. But we like it if you join us on Facebook and YouTube, because then you can be part of our live audience and you can join in our discussion and you can ask your questions as well.
That sounds like fun.
Yes, it does. So this evening's edition of Unlocking Your Truth is on the gift of prophecy. And I don't even know if we've ever done a show on this.
Slightly
Yes,
close.
sort of.
Yeah, and this was suggested by Anderini.
Oh yeah, Anderini. It was suggested, yes, by Anderini, exactly. And the funny thing was, we were wandering around our local park this Saturday night, I think, and there was a gospel, I don't know what to call it, a gospel music and people watching the gospel music. And then the lady singing the gospel music, or the man, I can't remember which one, started talking about prophecy and how their life was prophesized. And I thought, isn't that interesting that something I tend to think of this as a historical thing, prophecy, like a historical word that we use. I use different words, I guess. And yet in Christianity and perhaps other religions, it's still a thing that's alive and well, the idea of prophecy and things being prophesized. So that kind of got me curious and piqued as well, because, sometimes when people are, I guess, very deeply into, what should we say, a literal interpretation of religious literature, they don't like the idea of being psychic very much, that's a word that is not approved of. And yet there's this huge thing about prophecy. And I Googled before the show, and there's a huge list of prophets from the Bible. Hundreds and hundreds of people in biblical days prophesied things. So it's interesting. I think that maybe a modern word that we use to describe the same thing is precognition, or having a precognitive dream. Whereas in biblical times, it was called prophecy, and the people who prophesied were called prophets and prophetesses. But so very often, what's written in the Bible, and I think that there's a tradition of this actually in all religions, it's often written that these people had a prophetic dream. And I know from scientific research and studies that have been done in modern times that up to 98% of people have had some kind of what they would call prophetic dream and what we might call precognitive dream. So it's very, very common. So we'll talk about what it is, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in the historical context, I think. So, and the other thing that was interesting to me is that there's these hundreds and hundreds of prophets written about in the Bible, but very few prophetesses. And I think that some of the prophetesses that were written about were evil, wicked women. but if you look into I guess the pre-Christian era and thousands of years before that, the ones who were the main people doing prophecy were women, were the prophetesses, the priestesses at the oracles in the ancient world. So there were oracles all over ancient Greece. One of the most famous ones was the oracle at Delphi, which I've actually been to.
Of course you have.
Yeah, and it's an uninhabited island. But you can take a day trip to look at the ruins there. And these prophetesses you could come and consult them and listen to their utterances.
Didn't they read bones?
No, at the oracle at Delphi, the priestess who was called the Pythia, and actually Delphi used to be called a different name, which I think was maybe Pythos or something else, and actually relates to the idea of the serpent, which makes me think about Kundalini and the power of the Kundalini to awaken the prophetic ability, actually. And so it's my belief that these priestesses were very, very highly trained in the spiritual arts. But what used to happen was that they had a seat on a tripod that used to be seated above an opening at the oracle, which was sort of like open to the below the crust of the earth, where the fumes were coming up, like probably noxious fumes. But the Pythia would sit on the top of the tripod and breathe the fumes and go into a trance and channel the gods or goddesses. So she was under the influence of certain chemicals, and I think it was also actually written that they didn't live a terribly long time, probably because of that. So they were regularly bringing in new Pythias, new prophetesses. So, okay, so prophecy is the gift to prophesize or predict some kind of future event, or to be forewarned of something that is coming down the pipe. The other thing I meant to mention as well was that in the ancient world, the places where prophecy occurred were called oracles. So the oracle at Delphi, or the oracle at, different places. And
I thought the oracle was actually the person.
It latterly has become known as that. But originally the oracle is, I believe, the place that you go to receive the prophecy from the prophetess or the priestess. But yeah, we use that word sort of interchangeably now, don't we? We can call someone an oracle. So yeah, no, these particular ones, the Greek ones I was talking about, they didn't do bones, but that is one way that people have prophesied, I suppose. And so anyway, I mean, just talking generally about this historical idea of all of these prophets prophesying, and most of them seem to have been having precognitive dreams, which people today have. And so I think that what a religious person might say is the difference is that a prophet is chosen by God, whereas an ordinary person is dabbling and meddling in something that perhaps they shouldn't. But what I would say is it's all the same thing, that we are multidimensional beings and our consciousness exists throughout time and space, even though we are having the experience of ourselves as an individuated human embedded in time and space, but we can connect in with the larger realm of all that is. And in doing so, we can connect in with all of the different range of possibilities and timelines and choices and outcomes of those choices. So when you're having what might be called a prophetic dream, which we might call a precognitive dream, when you are asleep, your consciousness moves beyond the physical realm. It moves beyond the limits of time, space, reality. And then you find yourself able to traverse past, present, and future, alternative realities, alternate timelines. And so what a prophetic dream is you bringing into your waking consciousness, a memory of that experience of an alternate reality that you've had. And bringing it forward into your consciousness, in fact, may even make it more likely to occur, because you're already starting to manifest that idea into physical reality. So sometimes what we might do in our sleep is play around with these different ideas, these different possibilities, these different probabilities, and then we bring some of that into manifestation. But we can't bring all of it into manifestation because there's a limit to our time-space reality. Are you waving at me, Corey?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt until you were ready for me to interrupt. But a prophetic message isn't always a future message either, though. Sometimes it's just, a direction, a stop doing this. This is a way to be. A friend of mine once told me, he says, any message that anybody gets from the divine and that you're to pass along or to use yourself is basically, you become a prophet in your own, in a larger or less of a sense.
Yeah, we all can do this. We can all tap into this wider, broader range of conference.
By the way, Brian put a comment. He says, yes, it's a double standard. It's like it used to be okay to have prophets and seers, like in the Bible, but apparently there's a cutoff date. Like it was okay, but no longer. LOL.
Very funny and interesting. Yes. Yeah. So to what you were saying, Corey, that you said prophecy is not always about predicting the future. It can be to say, live like this or stop being like that. But in a way, that's true. But in a way, that is, because it's basically saying, don't behave that way or else some disaster will befall you. But if you behave this way, then you're more likely to have a wonderful life. It's like, I don't know, I had a dream that you should stop smoking. Because that timeline is a better timeline for you, the one way where one stops smoking, for example.
Yeah. Well, what's his name? The sleeping prophet. His name just right out of my head.
Edgar Cayce.
Edgar Cayce used to say a prophet is just somebody that's giving a message to tell you what's going to happen if you continue on this course. And he says this is an opportunity for you to change course,
Yes,
for you to
exactly.
change direction.
That's exactly, that's kind of what I just said in different words. That's exactly it. And really, I mean, I always say I don't prophesy, I don't tell the future for people, but and I'll explain why in a minute, but what I do is I read their energy in present time, and if they're looking for direction, we can look at what you're doing now in your energy, and how is that going to propel you forward? Where is that going to take you to? You know, what's the likely outcome of that? And how might you change your energy in the present in order to manifest the reality that you prefer? So absolutely. So we used to call it prophecy, but and then we called it precognition, and now we call it multidimensional reality and tapping into the quantum field. Or another name that we've called it is reading the Akashic record, or just different words for the same thing, really. Yeah. You know, people, when we call something a different word, people like to have a, well, what's the definition of that? And because it's a different word, it's different to, you know, something else. But we have so many words that we use to say the same thing. So prophecy is, you know, prophecy, prediction, precognition, looking into the future time, Akashic record, or tuning into the quantum field and observing different potentials or possible or probable realities. It's different language, and it really just describes the same thing. The idea that we are more than meets the eye. That we, like I was saying before, we're embedded in this time-space reality, but we exist beyond that. And that we're able to tap into that energy field beyond that. And
true.
You know, how does one consciously precognize, right? So there's also this idea, I guess, if we're talking about the history of prophets in the Bible and such, that it's like it's something that you don't control, but it's bestowed upon you by the Almighty. But then I guess the priestesses, the prophetesses of old, that was their job. People came on pilgrimages to see them and to ask them for information.
I have a prophetic message.
It's time for a break.
How did you know?
Because I'm a prophetess. Welcome back, everyone, to Unlocking Your Truth. We're talking about prophets and prophecy, and the and what that is. And you know, the other thing, you know, I'm always talking about our intuitive gifts and our psychic abilities, and precognition is a psychic ability, and you don't just have it. You can purposefully direct your gifts to purposefully, deliberately look into future potentials. It's a combination of using your clairvoyance and your knowingness, actually. Why are you laughing, Corey? Are you reading the comments?
Yeah. Ha ha ha, the break. Sorry, just touch me. Touch my funny bone.
You have to share it with everybody listening, because otherwise it doesn't make
sense. Oh yeah,
sense.
I just say ha 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 ha, the break was the comment.
Oh.
By Amber. Yeah. That's because folks, like we're as most people on the lines will know, we're pre-recording a show, and we have to allow a certain amount of time. We have to allow space for the commercial messages that the radio station, you know, adds in, and so we just need to leave a little space there so that I can break up the recording as we send it in. So That's what the break is all about.
So I'll talk a little bit about, I guess, the modern idea of being a psychic, and how there is an expectation by lots of people that that means predicting the future and telling the future. But I'm a firm believer that you create your own reality. You create your own reality by the vibration that you are, by the thoughts that you're thinking, by the emotions that you're feeling, by the energies that you are carrying. Then that is what you are broadcasting out to the universe. And this is a law of attraction based universe. So whatever it is that you're putting out is what gets reflected back at you. So rather than predict your future, I would prefer to listen to what it is that you're wanting to manifest, and then look at the idea of, are you creating yourself as a match to that? Because if you are, then its likelihood of showing up in your reality is a lot higher than if you are not. So whether you are a modern day psychic reader, clairvoyant, fortune teller, or an ancient prophet or prophetess, it's the same thing. Reading a person's energy, or reading the energy of a situation, or reading the energy of a nation, and through the energy, the vibration that's going out, what is the most likely potential outcome or of that energy? And so I think also where we've evolved, I guess, beyond where it was in days gone by, is that now we look at this idea, well, yeah, but we can change the energy of that. We can do things to change the energy of that. I can change my energy. I can meditate. I can heal. We can meditate together. We can work on changing the energy around a particular world event. Because I think that we might say that maybe in the past, the act of, or even in the present, the act of making a future prediction and bringing it into somebody's conscious awareness could make them more likely to create that. So if somebody is telling you, well, this is going to happen in your future, then that sticks in your mind. This is going to happen in my future. This is going to happen in my future. And now you are investing energy in that future outcome. And then you are actually then creating that yourself. So the idea is to realize that we all have a choice. We all create our own reality, and we don't have to create anything that we don't want to. But somebody giving us a reflection back on our energy as it stands can help us have a deeper understanding, and can help us make shifts and changes to that. So I'm open to any questions or discussion items on this, if there are any.
Yeah, just a comment. There are a couple of churches or religious organizations that do have prophets at the head of the church at this point in time. Which is not to mean that they do or don't receive messages for their whole congregation or the whole church itself. But you hear about that quite often in, in the news, and it's usually of a negative sort, like, the cults or things like that, that have the leader that says, well, I'm taking you all up into a spaceship, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. And it just out of curiosity, is there a way that you can tell whether the messages that you're getting from someone are real or just ludicrous?
So when you said the message you are getting from someone, or the message you are getting for someone?
From someone. from the leader of your organization, or
Oh, okay. I see what you're asking.
like,
Okay, so you're saying somebody out there who's part of a cult or a group of people where there's a prophet who's delivering information to them.
yeah.
So your best guide, this applies to everyone on this planet. Your very best guide is your own higher being, is your own soul, is your own divine source, is your own direct line to the divine. So I would just say, don't let any other human being come in between you and that direct connection with your divine source. And so by cultivating that direct connection to your divine source, by cultivating that connection to your own higher being, to your own soul, listening to your own inner voice, then you can feel what is in alignment with you. You can feel what is your truth. And not everybody's truth is the same. Maybe I'll repeat, not everybody's truth is the same. Each individual, in a way, is their own reality, their own reality creation machine in their own personal universe, with their own personal truth, with their own personal unique perspective, because each one of us is a unique aspect of God, and that automatically gives us a unique perspective. So there's no one overarching truth. There are many perspectives. And so I forgot where I was going with that. So you were saying, oh yeah, how to tell if somebody's telling you the truth. The question is, that might be their truth, but is it your truth? That may, so nothing is worth exchanging for your own unique connection with God or your divine source. So if you are somebody who is indoctrinated by a cult leader, and who feels that they don't have their own unique connection, feels like they can't do what I just suggested you might do, then one, I recommend meditation. And two, it's like, well, just does it feel right to you? Does it really feel right in your heart? And then secondarily, learn to meditate, learn to turn within, learn to tune out all of those external voices and external information sources so that you can listen to that still voice within you, which will give you your truth, your knowledge, your information, what's correct for you at this time. So, are there any comments or questions, Colin?
Yes, there is.
Good.
There are. This is from Limitless Creators. Can we ignore probability and just create heaven on earth?
I'm just writing that down so I can heaven on earth. Well, the two are tied together. So we individually create our individual reality, and we collectively create our collective reality. You can create your heaven on earth for you, and we collectively together can create our heaven on earth. And we don't do it by ignoring probability, we do it by changing probability. Probability is not an immutable thing, it's not a thing that doesn't shift and change. It shifts and changes with our consciousness. So I'll make something up. Let's say right now, your probability of you creating heaven on earth for yourself is 57%. And then we say, okay, well, however, but if you change that belief and you let go of that limit and you raise your vibration from here to there, oh, now it's gone up to 68%. I'm being a bit simplistic about it. But so if each of us commits to being a channel for love, you know, and light and acceptance and compassion, then we start to collectively change that probability. So the probability of something happening is intricately connected with our consciousness. So it's not a case of ignoring it. It's a case of becoming consciously aware about ourselves and what we're doing with our energy, that then allows us to shift from what we don't want to what we prefer. And even if you're in a world where you look around you and you say, yeah, but there's all of these idiots and look at what they're creating, and they're not going to change. So can't we just ignore it and do it anyway? Well, but it doesn't matter what they're doing. What matters is what you're doing, because you will get the reality that you create in your lived experience by working within yourself to manage your own energy.
Absolutely.
Do we have another question?
Yes, we do. A comment from Heidi. Heidi says, from a previous comment you made, wow, I never thought of that last part. I've always felt energy, but not necessarily read it to see an outcome.
So she's always read energy. What? Say that
She's
again.
she's read energy, but not necessarily to see what an outcome, using it for.
Yes, and you may or may not want to do that, right? But somebody's energy is reflective of where they're headed until they change it, because you create what you are. You create what you are being.
Yeah, and it is real. I mean, it is real, and I mean there are rules. There's rules around everything that we do, including, you know, spiritual stuff in a sense. So just because you say I want $1 million to appear on the table doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. But when you want something, it does. If you want or need something, and you do it in a specific manner, you'll see things happen. And not necessarily, the thing is, it's the outcome is not necessarily what you think it may be, and you have to really watch for it. And it's I always found that I watch people manifest things, and it just goes right by them. They don't even see that they're doing it. And you know, the truth is coming, the manifestation is coming into reality, and they don't even see it. It just goes right by them. It's amazing. Okay. Limitless Creator says, thank you, appreciate you, thank you, Limitless. What's next? This is from Brian. Brian says, for some people to know the future as it is read can be used as a form of self-sabotage. For instance, a person afraid a close relationship is told someone is coming into their life. Subconsciously, they could alter that because of that embedded fear or belief, and it doesn't come to pass then.
Yeah, the degree to which you doubt a creation is proportional to how quickly it will manifest, or even whether it will manifest, and is related to the beliefs that you have about that manifestation. So if you have a deep-seated belief in unworthiness, if you have a deep-seated belief that nobody will ever love you, then those beliefs are going to affect your ability to create, to attract a relationship, and to influence what occurs in a relationship if you do create one.
Yeah. It's just a quick note. I'm not sure where that came from, whether it was an internal message or not. Brian says, true. Remember, there are a lot of books and scrolls missing from the Bible. It's almost a piece together story with a purpose. And yes, there are, in the King James Version, there are 14 books mentioned in the Bible that are no longer in the Bible. So
Yeah, that the Bible that we know was put together in, is it the Council of Nicene?
Nicene.
And that was over 300 years after the death of Christ, and it was decided on the basis of their political interests and desires of how they wanted to control the population at that time, what was included. And so a lot was changed about women and women's roles. Jesus had female disciples. There were books written by women that weren't included. They found the Book of Mary in the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was the other one? There's a couple other ones in the Dead Sea Scrolls. What was it, Ruth, or is Ruth in the Bible? I think it's Ruth.
Yeah, I think there is a Book of Ruth, isn't there?
Yeah. Okay, and right now we're going to go for another break, Dr. Leslie.
Sounds good.
And then we'll come back for the rest.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to this evening's edition of Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, talking about the gift of prophecy, and now answering your questions and responding to your comments about that subject.
Oh, thank you, Brian. Just realized I missed the Mandarini question. Okay, let's get that for you. I guess Andarini, I guess you notice we're doing your topic. So is religion was created by a higher guide, maybe who I change of humanity, maybe, because historically from Abraham to Moses' time to Christianity, then Islam, they are all related to each other and just being revised or adjusted.
I think I got the gist of that. I would say there's truth in what you say, that you can look at how religions was formed, and you can follow back almost like the tree of origin, and see that ones that we see as very separate and different religions today are branches of some that from the same roots from the same tree, or branches from the same trunk. And I would say that at the heart of all religions is love.
It's in every text.
Is love, is to bring the vibration of love and the vibration of peace on earth. And all of the, whether you call them prophets or messiahs or different great teachers that we've had throughout history talking to us about this, their message has been love. And then it's what happens to the message after that that changes things. But yeah, and so I would say religions are founded by man, but higher truths are, on the one hand, I could say come from God, but I'd personally say it a slightly different way, which is just love is the underpinning structure of our reality. And God is all that is. And love is what holds our reality together. It what hold everything together. It what hold the molecules and atoms of your body together. It what allows us to be people is love. And as humans, we've got ourselves out of alignment with love. And so love is the source of everything. And all of our great teachers have delivered that message. And then we've intellectualized it, or we've captured it and manipulated it for our own purposes in order to manipulate each other. But at the core, it's love.
Very true. Okay, this is a message from Lorraine. Lorraine says, or question, I should say, can we help raise others' energy?
We can provide energy to others, and it's up to them how they use it. So on the one hand, the short answer to that is yes, but so we can give somebody a healing. As a healer, we can give somebody a healing. We can move dense energies out of their system, replace it with more light, fill them full of wonderful high vibration cosmic energy. But at the end of the day, their life and what they do with it and what they do with their energy is their choice. So as healers, we give in a neutral fashion with no, realizing that at the end of the day, that person will do what they will. They will either receive the healing, accept it, use it as a way of catalyzing a shift within themselves because they're ready to make that shift. Or they won't. Or they won't, and they will just go back to the same patterns. So you can't create through someone else's reality. You can't force someone else to change. And so I think oftentimes this is what people want to do in relationships. Or can't we just magic that person so that so that they raise their vibration and then my life will be fine? But that isn't going to work because that person has their own free will. They're on their own journey. They are where they are. But what does work is for you to change your own energy, because then what shows up in your reality is a match for that. So it's always down to you working on yourself and changing yourself. So, if that's the reason that you're asking the question. So we can give somebody a healing, but it's up to them what they do with that energy that we give them for the healing. So a healing will either be received and great, their energy will shift, but it's them that did it. We just were like the midwife of that change. Or it won't. And it's always down to them which way it goes. So it'll either be temporary or permanent, but that's not down to you, it's down to them.
True. Okay, this is from Brian. Sorry. I've had a couple of experiences like that with teachers, leaders who weren't coming from a place of authentic connection. My level of awareness immediately made me feel something was off in the moment. It didn't seem right. It's comparative to when people tell me that something that is in resonance, it's easily accepted and not necessarily as conceptual understanding, but a deeper feeling, knowing.
Yeah, you can, if you're reasonably in touch with your intuition, you can tell when something's off. Absolutely, you can.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's there. That queasy feeling in your tummy going,
This just doesn't feel right to me. I don't think this person's telling the truth.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem to have that oomph. It's also from Brian. Brian says, Dr. Leslie, it seems as if the structure of many systems, money, politics, religion, is being broken down to its core essence. Is that what you are seeing happening? It's like all the extra stuff added to them over the years, including the corruption, is being distilled down to get that balance back.
Yeah, I agree with you. That we're all lobsters in a pot with the heat being gradually turned up. You know, or the light is getting brighter on this planet, the vibration is getting higher. So the things that hid in the shadows for centuries, they can't hide in the shadows anymore. That's why, I mean, we can think of, in the last few years, some examples, can't we? The Me Too movement, the Sound of Freedom, that movie that's out at the moment about child sex trafficking, all of the whistleblowers about various things, whether it's in the healthcare industry and some of the, you know, the opioid crisis, or, you know, there's lots of examples of that happening. And I think, whereas in the past, these things could hide in dark corners. And if somebody became aware of it, they said, well, what can I do about that? Now they can't be hidden anymore. And now, luckily, some people are feeling more empowered to be able to do something about it. So absolutely, our world is shifting and changing before our eyes. And it, you know, it's good to be able to look at it from a spiritual perspective, because I think that you could look at some of it and go, oh, it's getting, and I know lots of people who do this, it's getting worse, but it's not, it's getting more polarized. It's getting more polarized. And so that it can't be sustained at that level of polarization. And when things spring back, it's the idea of finding that balance point in the middle, that harmony point in the middle. And also the ability that I was talking about earlier, to be, for us all to be able to accept our differences. But yeah, the structures are crumbling, and some of the behaviors that have been going on this planet for thousands of years are starting to come to light and be questioned.
There's a lot. It's amazing though when you look at some of these wonderful people that are, you know, on Facebook and things, that have a true message, and it's getting out to the population. There are people listening, and there's more people coming up in the system that eventually will float to the top and hopefully will become what we call our leaders in the future. And it's they're out there, but they're not part of the old boys network. They're outcasts, but they're still being heard. They're still being kind of, and that's what the media is doing. The social media is allowing us to hear that, which I think is a wonderful thing, where we didn't have that before. Yeah, and Brian says more people are ready to hear the message as well. They're not just taking everything as it comes in, being spoon fed to them.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, if you think back generations ago, people would go to the doctor and not question the doctor. The doctor was God. And now people research their own health and they go in educated. You know, and they don't just automatically accept everything that the doctor or any expert might say, actually.
That's true.
So we're lucky that there's such a flood of information available to us.
Very true. Very true. I don't know if I mentioned this. Heidi says, love never fails. Yeah, let's go back to, let's go back to, I think here fireworks again. Go back to our topic at hand. prophecy and the like. I find that prophetic messages prophetic messages can be very uplifting though. And even for the lack of a better term, from the pulpit, when you get somebody up saying this, that, this, and in a positive, very positive nature, that gets you to move. That gets you to consider the fact that things can be better. They don't always have to be the worst.
Yeah, they can be empowering
Yeah.
and galvanizing and bring people together for a common purpose.
Yeah, that's very true. Common purpose. That's actually a good add-on to that statement. Sometimes we forget we do have commonality with other people. This is from Amber. Amber says it's got to come up to come out. It's very easy to get sucked into old belief systems or indoctrinations. Any advice on daily practices or other to incorporate, add to them over the years, including the corruption is being distilled down to get that balance back?
So the question is daily practice to help.
Yeah, what can we do individually?
Meditate, turn within, listen to that still voice inside you, connect with your own higher being, release what's out of alignment, what's not your information, what's not your energy. So be in alignment with your higher being. I do that through meditation. I teach that through meditation, through a very specific form of meditation. For anyone listening, there's a free taster of meditation on my website that you can download. So I don't know any better way than to keep your energy clear. The clearer that you keep your energy, the higher that you keep your vibration, the easier it is for you to tune into your intuition about these things. The easier it is for you to see what's in resonance with you and what isn't. The easier it is for you to tell the difference between what's a true statement and what's a lie. The easier it is for you to read and be aware of someone else's energy, whether they're being honest or not.
Let's popping that on. I put the link on that for some guided meditation, but also just studying good books as well. I mean, reading things and watching good programs on television, or not television, but on different streaming services. There's a way to.
Your voice is a bit quiet, by the way.
I'm losing my voice.
Oh.
My throat's raspy. Sorry about that. I'll talk differently, okay? I'll talk. Is that better? No. Yeah, I got a little cold going on, I think. Anyway, anything else you have to say, Dr. Leslie?
I prophesized that we're coming to the end of the show.
Slowly. Got a couple more minutes.
Okay. No more questions then from the
No, that's it.
Audience.
That's it from, let me check to make sure I got everybody that I had marked down. Yeah, looks that way. Everybody's there. Everybody's happy.
Well, the best way to forge the future that you desire is by the energy that you are now. And the best way to be in tune with and to keep your energy clear is through meditation. So that would be my parting words. And those prophets and prophetesses of old, many of them were highly trained individuals that spent years training in mystery schools, in the art of meditation, in the art of being able to channel, in the art of being able to use their psychic abilities. So that's kind of forgotten. We know these places existed, but these people spent years and years and years in training to learn to do what they did. They managed and looked after their energy. They cultivated their psychic abilities in order to be able to do what they did.
We have another message from Brian. Brian says, I'd love to see a show about extra dimensional reality, things like what the Bermuda Triangle is all about, or Bigfoot, or Loch Ness Monster. Are those extra dimensional beings? More people are questioning these things, more aware of it.
So Nessie, Sasquatch, Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should do a show on that.
Yeah, we have that. We have that on our list. It's there for coming up in a future show. We will be talking about Nessie. And Dr. Leslie, I think that's it for tonight.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll be here same time next week.
Thank you all.